Hello Internet! Today I have got some more battles for you from the day 2 of the World Championships from just a week ago basically. Now like in yesterday's video, I hope you enjoyed that. It is recorded from a phone, the quality does get better, trust me. But when else are you going to see some proper day 2 action? This game is the last game of my round 5 against Hongyu from Canada. And he had a really interesting team actually. He had Crobat and I'm pretty sure a Ludicolo and various things like that. And let's see how this goes. So I'll try and remember exactly what happened as well. Now originally I did record this because I was I was happy that Thunderous had actually done some work finally. Thunderous, just let you into a bit of a secret. Thunderous I did not take at all on day 1 of Worlds. This set is the first set in the whole Worlds tournament that I used Thunderous, so that's why I wanted to use it to record this. But I was using it because he had a Crobat, and with Rayquaza and Xerneas, Crobat is potentially a problem, so I needed my Thunderous really, and this is how the game 3 went. So let's see. So he Primal Reverts. And I'm pretty sure I'll make a pretty nice prediction on turn 1. So let's see. Yeah, let's see what happens here. Obviously, I think I must have used Taunt on his Crobat in a previous game. So this time he doesn't bother, going for a Tailwind or anything, or a Taunt of his own or anything like that. He goes straight for a Super Fang and an Eruption into my Xerneas. And I did suspect he would do that. I do Taunt his Crobat just because I don't want any Tailwinds or any Taunts or anything like that in the future. Thunderous has pretty much done its job now. I made the nice call by protecting my Xerneas there because a combination of Eruption and Super Fang would have knocked it out because the sun is up. If anything, it would have been nice for my Thunderous to go down there, but it's bulky enough to survive that obviously. But it does mean next turn I have to withdraw it and put in my Rayquaza because I do want to get rid of the sun, and I know that a combination of Super Fang and Eruption not in the sun won't, with a Geomancy boost obviously as well, is not going to be knocking out my Xerneas. So let's see, there we go, there's an Eruption, and Xerneas quite nicely survives that. His Crobat can't do anything but Super Fang here as well, I'm pretty sure it's not got Brave Bird, because it is still taunted. So this next turn is quite an interesting one. In the previous games, his Groudon showed Hidden Power Ice, so that was definitely interesting. So I was a little bit wary about it, but let's see how this turn plays out, and I'll show you exactly what I was thinking. So I'm Mega Evolve, and I've got 124 HP at the moment. There we go, there's my nice Delta Stream, so the sun is definitely gone now. A Dazzling Gleam, which actually does just under half to the Crobat. I think in the previous game it just did just over half to the Crobat as well, so it's a bit of a roll if that's a 2-hit KO or not. It does reduce the damage on the Groudon as well, going for the Dazzling Gleam. And he Super Fangs into my Rayquaza. I Sword Stance my Rayquaza, and he Hidden Powers my Rayquaza to knock it out. Now, that might have seemed a little bit reckless because, I could have got an attack off with Rayquaza there. But basically, he needed to, he had a KO this turn. I couldn't stop him really knocking out one of my Pokemon. So, either he Super Fanged and Earth Powered into my Xerneas and knocked that out, in which case I would have had a nice +2 Rayquaza sitting there and now threatening very much. Or he had to Super Fang and Hidden Power into my Rayquaza, in which case I've still got my Geomancied up Xerneas next to me. So either way, whatever happened this turn, he needed to double up into one of my Pokemon. If he didn't double up into either, then I would have still had both of them, and I would have been in an even better position. But he needed to double up into one of them, and going for the Swords Dance there meant that if he did choose to get rid of the Xerneas, I would have had a nice big threat still on the field. So that was my thinking with that turn. So I didn't really mind taking, letting Rayquaza go down there, because I've still got my Geomancy up, and his Taunt wears off, but it means I can bring my Smeargle in now. So let's see, yeah, I Moonblast the Crobat because I know that is definitely a knockout. You know, Dazzling Gleam did just under half, so a Moonblast is definitely a knockout there. So he's not getting any Tailwind or any Haze or anything annoying like that. And I transform into my own Xerneas here. So I've got 2+2 Xerneas now, so feeling really good about this. He goes for an Earth Power on my Xerneas, and I survive on 2 HP. Look at that. Again, there's going to be a team report coming up, you know, in a few days' time. My Xerneas, I've kind of embarrassingly forgotten what the spread was supposed to do, but I had a few times in World where it survived on like 2 HP. Really, really important. I mean, I probably would have won without it, but I mean, like, a really nice survival there. So, yeah, really happy about that. At this point, I'm thinking, well, I just need to Dazzling Gleam, and I've won the game. So, let's see what happens. He Mega Evolves. Obviously, he can Extreme Speed me if he wants to, but he, I suppose, smartly goes for a double Protect with both of his Pokemon to scout out for my Protect. I just go for a Dazzling Gleam and a Dazzling Gleam though. So he was scouting out for my you know, this one on 2 HP's Protect, but I just went straight for 2 Dazzling Gleams basically. There we go, Dazzling Gleam and Dazzling Gleam. Now the next turn, let's see what's happening here. Yeah. So we've kind of sort of skipped forward a little bit now. But the next turn, I get a little bit cheeky. I mean, I didn't really need to do this, but I protect my 2 HP Xerneas, which is the one that he was scouting out for my Protect for in the last turn. I protect that one, and he tries to double protect his Groudon. He Extreme Speeds into my Xerneas, and my full HP Xerneas gets a Dazzling Gleam and do a massive amount to his Groudon and knock out his Rayquaza. So a little bit cheeky. I didn't really need to do that. If Xerneas had gone down there, I would have still got the Dazzling Gleam off, would have knocked out his Groudon there, and still would have had the game, but it was just a little bit cheeky at the end there, I suppose. But Thundurus actually did some work in that battle, because you saw at the end there, he did have Togekiss as well, so I did get to sort of taunt it and, play around with it in some previous games as well. So I was just really happy that Thundurus actually did something there. Again, Transform, really nice too. This game then is my round 7 game, so at this point I'm 5-1, and I know that I have definitely top cut. This is game 3 of round 7 against Andrew Nowak from the United States, who finished 5-2, and it was interesting because like game 1, I'm pretty sure I just sort of dominated him. I won the game quite convincingly. Game 2, I think I had to rely on one of his Pokemon. It was either his Groudon or his Ferrothorn staying asleep for a second turn, but if it did, then I won the game. But he woke up, and he won the game from there. So this is the 3rd game. So let's see what happens here. Oh, we seem to have stopped working. Oh, there we go again. It's YouTube changing the quality settings, I think. Okay, so here we go. So we've got Groudon and Ferrothorn, and I lead with Smeargle and Xerneas again. You're seeing a bit of a theme here, aren't you? So here's my Fairy, he's going to Primal Revert. In the previous games, I found out that his Ferrothorn does not have a Lumberry either. So I felt honestly free to Dark Void here. So yeah, here's a Desolate Land and everything. Now, Smeargle is a bit of a taboo Pokemon, I suppose, isn't it? Not many people are a big fan of it. Mostly really because of Dark Void. In day 1 of Worlds, I think I only used Dark Void like 2 times in the whole 8 rounds. I think it was something like that anyway. Day 2 here, I did use Dark Void a few more times, and in this game, more than any other game, I suppose apart from game 1 against Jonathan Evans, which will be on tomorrow's video, I relied on Dark Void hitting. So let's see if I do. Because I know Groudon obviously can't have a Lumberry or whatever. I know his Ferrothorn hasn't got a Lumberry. So I just go for a Dark Void, and I hit both of them, and I get my Geomancy. If I'd missed the Ferrothorn there, then, 20% chance to miss, then he probably would have Gyro Balled into my Xerneas, and there's a good chance he would have won the game from there. So right now I'm feeling really good. He's led with something that can't really handle Smeargle and Xerneas. Both of these are very good against Xerneas, obviously, but with a Smeargle that can just freely Dark Void on them, not very good. So I put my Scrafty in now, get the Intimidate on his Groudon and the Intimidate on his Ferrothorn as well. His Groudon wakes up, goes for a Protect, and I go for a Dazzling Gleam. I go for a Dazzling Gleam because I know that a Moonblast single target is not going to one-shot either of these Pokemon. A Dazzling Gleam and a Moonblast should knock out his Groudon as well. And with the Intimidate from Scrafty, as long as both of them don't wake up and target Xerneas, on the first turn, I should be okay. Because if the Ferrothorn woke up there, a -1 attack, a Gyro Ball, without a critical hit, would not knock out my Xerneas. So right now I'm feeling really good, really good. And yeah, there we go, stays asleep. So it's leftovers actually. So the next turn he withdraws his Groudon. And maybe to reset the Intimidate or whatever, puts his Crobat in. So I did play another Crobat this tournament. Go for a Dazzling Gleam and a Low Kick on his Ferrothorn. Now I can't remember exactly, but he can't have had anything with Intimidate in the back. Else I might have played. I would have probably gone for a Fake Out on the Ferrothorn there. I didn't go for a Fake Out that turn. He maybe switched, thinking I was just going to Fake Out and go for a bit of a dead turn sort of thing. But no need. The Ferrothorn is asleep right now, and I can just Dazzling Gleam, Low Kick the Ferrothorn, knock it out. So now I've knocked out that Ferrothorn. That is the biggest threat for Xerneas gone, and I've got my Geomancy up. I don't think I've taken any damage yet. I'm sitting really nicely. So Ferrothorn's down, Crobat's come in, and feeling pretty good. So he brings in his Rayquaza now, and let's see what happens. Scrafty comes back. I put Smeargle back in, I do believe, yeah. And I'm pretty sure I go for a Dazzling Gleam here, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I do believe that... Let's just pause it here. I do believe that in previous games, I saw that his Rayquaza was Life Orb. I'm pretty sure it's a Life Orb Rayquaza. So I know that if he doesn't protect his Rayquaza here, I can just Dazzling Gleam and knock it out. If he does protect Rayquaza here, then I can get a really free switch into Smeargle. So basically I'm getting something from this turn. Something good is happening for me here. So if he didn't protect Rayquaza, I'm knocking it out. If he doesn't protect Rayquaza, then I get to knock it out. Don't knock the Crobat out, but I'm not so bothered about that, to be honest. And he actually goes for a Tailwind here. So he's got the Tailwind up. So I still need to play a little bit cautiously, because he's got a Groudon, he's got Crobat, and as we're about to see, he protects his Groudon, but he does have Haze here, yeah. So my Xerneas has got rid of all of its stats now. It's back down to neutral. The Dazzling Gleam does finish off his Crobat, which is nice, and with my Smeargle, I actually transform into my own Xerneas here, but his is still in Tailwind, and I've not got the boost anymore, but I have still got two Xerneas, but I don't really need it. So bring Smeargle back, put Scrafty back in, get the Intimidate off, just play it really sensibly. I've still got Rayquaza in the back, so I have definitely won this game, at this point. He erupts. Scrafty, again, team report coming up, nice survival there. Fake out, yeah, just really simple, Fake Out Moonblast. His Tailwind runs out, I Moonblast into him, do a bit of damage. He erupts, so he does knock out my Scrafty. I could have brought in Rayquaza just to get a 4-0, but there was no need really. Bring my Smeargle in, because you know what, Smeargle, it's had enough of being Xerneas. It wants to be a Groudon now, so there we go. And basically doing that, if he erupts, then then my new Groudon survives. If he Earth Powers my Smeargle, and it's not doing any damage to my Xerneas. So there we go. And he does erupt there, which doesn't even take my Xerneas out either. Next turn, I can just use his own Groudon to knock him out really. So Earth Power on his Groudon takes it down, and I've basically finished Game 2 of Worlds. Day 2. Day 2 of Worlds. 6-1. Yeah, 6-1 I finished. So that meant that I was automatically going to be, parachuted into the top 16 of Worlds, which was lovely. It was really nice until I learnt that my top 16 opponent was going to be my good friend Jamie Boyt. Now, Jamie Boyt, because we are going to do this now. Here we go. Let's focus. Jamie Boyt was using a really similar team to mine. Well, kind of similar anyway. He was using Rayquaza and Xerneas like I was, but he didn't use Smeargle. I'll just pause this in a moment. There we go, when we get into a good position. There we go. So, like, this was an amazing set as well. Like, it's a real big shame that this game wasn't streamed, you know, or at least put on the TV or something, because this was definitely, like, the hottest game of the top 16. Me and Jamie Boyd. So he's got Rayquaza, he's got Xerneas. He didn't use Smeargle, though. His Rayquaza was Assault Vested as well, so I know that his Rayquaza can survive a Geomancy plus 2 Dazzling Gleam. He's got an Arcanine with Roar, and he has got a Gyarados with Roar as well. He's also got Whimsicott with Safeguard and Encore, and so I was actually really worried about this match. I didn't think there was any chance of me winning, really. So, you know, I sat down and thought about, you know, on Team Preview, thought about how I could sort of go about it. Game 1 was really interesting, and this, you know, this is just sort of an example of how crazy the set was, because I led Smeargle Xerneas, he led Xerneas Whimsicott. Turn 1, he uses Safeguard to stop my Dark Void, but I used Transform on his Whimsicott. I Geomancy, he Geomancies. Now, I've got my Smeargle, which is now Whimsicott, with a Choice Scarf, so I can out-Prankster, outspeed his Whimsicott, and Encore his own Whimsicott into Safeguard, and because my Xerneas was faster, I could start whittling away and Moonblasting away at his Xerneas as well. So I was in a really good position. I'm pretty sure I was going to win that first game, but he got a critical hit with his Xerneas onto my Xerneas and knocked it out. And I think the game was... I can't remember exactly what happened after that. I don't know if I had any sort of chance after that happened, but I was obviously pretty annoyed that I just sort of lost that game to a critical hit. Game 2, I can't remember exactly what happened, but he used Safeguard turn 1 again. I transformed into his Arcanine that he had. He didn't Roar my Xerneas. I kind of expected he was. He just Flare Blitzed me instead, which was nice of him. But basically, my Smeargle, which was now his Arcanine, got to use his Arcanine's Helping Hand, so that my Xerneas could Moonblast with a Helping Hand his Xerneas before he got to do anything. And it was a really crazy game. I ended up winning the second game. So this is the third game, and he's led a little bit differently. He's led with Whimsicott again, because he kind of needs to Safeguard, really, else I can just Dark Void all over his team. I know his Rayquaza can't Protect because it's an Assault Vest. Again, Game 3, I've led just the same with Smeargle and Xerneas. So let's see what happens now. So here's the Airlock and the Fairy-Aura. So E-Mega Evolves. Again, I know he can't Protect. I don't want to Geomancy, really, either, because I know he has got Encore. And although I might have Scrafty with Quick Guard in the back, I don't want to bring it on like a Moonblast or something like that either. So, you know, I can't really Geomancy here. So, here's a Delta Stream. He uses Safeguard, which is kind of forced to. So, all 3 games, he has used Safeguard turn 1. Just thinking that I might have been cheeky, a bit like in yesterday's video, in that round 4 game where I used Dark Void in the 3rd game, you know, and that caught him off guard. Jamie Boyd was wary of that. He knows that I sort of like to do that sometimes, and he, not messing around, just use Safeguard. But I transform into my own Xerneas. So I've got a Scarfed Xerneas now, and that's pretty nice looking, you know, looking at what he's got, because he's got a Rayquaza out there. Moonblast does a good chunk to him, but he Dragon Ascents my Xerneas there. So, there we go. So that was an interesting turn. So I've got a Scarfed Xerneas now. We both traded chunks on restricted Pokemon. So I did a lot of damage to his Rayquaza, he did a lot of damage to my Xerneas. So because my Smeargle, Xerneas, is Scarfed now, I can outspeed his Rayquaza and knock it out with a Dazzling Gleam, because he's just taken a special offense drop through Dragon Ascent. So this next turn, he goes for an Extreme Speed onto my Smeargle, gets a critical hit, which isn't very nice. But I do get this Dazzling Gleam off. It does knock the Rayquaza out. It breaks the Whimsicott Sash as well. And his Whimsicott uses his Fairy-Aura boosted Moonblast to knock out my actual Xerneas. So, interesting sort of turn of events, really. I get rid of his Mega Rayquaza. He gets rid of my Xerneas. I've got a Scarfed Xerneas, Scarfed Smeargle in there. He's got his Whimsicott. I put my Rayquaza out. He puts his Xerneas in now. So this is, again, a really interesting turn. What's going to happen? So I Mega Evolve. And yeah, basically I was debating between two things what I was going to do this turn. I had to Dazzling Gleam because, come on YouTube, there we go. I had to Dazzling Gleam because I was locked into it with a Choice Scarf. He goes for a Tailwind though, so he gets some use out of his Whimsicott before it goes down. So a Dazzling Gleam and my Rayquaza, either I was going to Sword Stance here, predicting his Xerneas to protect, or I was going to Dragon Ascent it, because if he protected his Xerneas there, and, just got the Tailwind up or something, then he would have been in a pretty good position. If I'd Sword Stance there, then that would have sort of mitigated that a little bit. But I'm not going to mess around. I just go straight for a Dragon Ascent. Half hoping, maybe for a critical hit of my own. Maybe like a Dazzling Gleam, or a Dragon Ascent with a critical hit could knock it out. Regardless, without a critical hit, I almost knock him out anyway. But I kind of knew he would survive there, and he gets his own Dazzling Gleam off. Now he is in Tailwind, remember. There you go. Critical hit on my because it means nothing there. But look at the position that we're in now. So here's his Arcanine. He's got the Dazzling Gleam. My Smeargle thankfully survived that. Remember, I am Geomanted, so but at the reduced HP, so I'm just survived. My Xerneas like surviving on 2 HP, don't they? So I'm pretty proud of that Smeargle there. So I've got 2 HP and I've got 1 HP. He's got his Arcanine now. I know his Arcanine has got Extreme Speed though, so oh dear. And he is in Tailwind, so it's not looking good. At this point, I thought I had lost the game. At this point, he thought he had won the game. He's in Tailwind. He's got Extreme Speed. He can knock out my Rayquaza. It's terrible for me right now. So what do? What can I do? I've only got Scrafty in the back. Scrafty can't beat Xerneas. So I protect my Rayquaza. He Extreme Speeds into my Rayquaza and Dazzling Gleams. So that knocks out my my Smeargle there. So Smeargle goes down finally. He's still got some Tailwind turns. I'll put my Scrafty in. Now remember, his Xerneas is in range of Extreme Speed. I can Extreme Speed that to knock it out. And I've got Fake Out for this turn. I get the Intimidate onto his Arcanine as well, which is quite nice. So really simple. I, use the Fake Out on the Arcanine and go for the Extreme Speed. There we go, into his Xerneas. I was somewhat tempted to try and predict that and go for a Dragon Ascent into the Arcanine as well. Don't think that would have been necessary though. But now, for this one turn, he has got Tailwind. And this one turn, he can Extreme Speed me before I can Extreme Speed him. But I've got Quick Guard. So I Quick Guard, he Extreme Speeds into it. I get to Extreme Speed his Xerneas. And the game is won from here, basically. Yeah, Tailwind pickers up. So even if, let's just sort of think through this. Because I Quick Guard. If he didn't Extreme Speed me, I would have still Extreme Speeded his Xerneas, knocked it out, and he would have Flare Blitzed my Rayquaza and knocked it out. My Scrafty would have beaten his, his Intimidated Arcanine one-on-one. So I would have won that game at that point. The previous turn, his Xerneas had to protect because I could Fake Out an Extreme Speed. So really, the only way at this point in the game how he could win is if he went for the Double Protect with his Xerneas and got it. Because if he did get the Double Protect there, that would obviously not have been very good for me. So now I can just Extreme Speed, not messing around, just Extreme Speed his Arcanine. He knocks out my Rayquaza. He's got a Life Orb as well, so he's going to be taking even more damage. And I can just finish off his Arcanine with a knockoff. There we go. So that is Scrafty putting me into the top 8 of the World Championships. Really unfortunate that I had to, beat my good friend Jamie Boyt, because I did like his team. It was pretty unique, very different. He had obviously, top cut as well. He'd done pretty well too. So if we didn't have to play each other, I wonder how far he would have gone, because he did play Jonathan Evans earlier in Swiss, and he did beat him. So, maybe if he had beaten me, maybe Boyt would have been in the top 4 or higher of the tournament. So it's funny how it works out, isn't it? But obviously I've got to. It's a competitive game. I've got to win the game. I do what I can to win, and I had to win there. So unfortunately I had to knock him out, because me and Jamie were the only 2 UK players, 2 Top Cut Worlds. Interesting that last year at Worlds, me and Jamie were the only 2 UK players to go positive at Worlds. This year we were again the top 2 UK players in the world. So me and Jamie were doing it for the UK. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I hope you've hope you can bear the. I mean, the quality looks all right there, doesn't it? It's not too bad. So thanks a lot, guys. Please like and share, and get my channel out there even more. So thanks a lot, guys, and stay tuned for tomorrow, because tomorrow will be me talking over the quarterfinal and all of the controversies and everything in that as well. So stay tuned, and thanks, and goodbye for now.